Left lane must turn left. I was at an intersection at a red light. Every time I'm in that position, I watch the drivers behind me in my rear view mirror, and no one ever knows that they're being watched. I've seen high-ranking business officials in gold-colored Cadillac Eldorados rearrange their hairpieces. I've seen elderly women in powder blue K-cars take on fierce adventures of nasal spelunking, fingernailing out their brains like dried ancient mummies. I've seen the glistening smiles of home-permed blondes pop up from below the dashboard line of red-polished Carrera Targas. I've seen pimples picked and bras adjusted and armpit smell monitored and lipstick applied accompanied with very funny contortions of the face. And I've made eyes at girls in the passenger seat of their boyfriend's car. And I've met the glares of these big bad bulldog boyfriends with the same wide shit-eating grin, adjusting the rear view so that they can see my teeth. Today, I was staring at the 2 inches of blurred air above my hood and almost forgot to check the rear view. It was a mother going through large spanning gestures and speaking with large lip movements. I could sense the high volume from a full car length ahead. I could tell she was siphoning out however much of a soul her son still had right through his ears. I saw her look straight ahead and stop yelling and give a hard palm to her horn. See, I had the green but was far too amused to notice. I went into my left turn and reached out the window with my left arm and jammed up the middle finger to the sky and swirled it all around real good. I checked the rear view again. The mother's look was so scorned, and the son was rocking back and forth, eyelids squeezed together, hands cupping his mouth, laughing his ass off. No need to thank me, kid. It's obvious that you've managed to salvage at least some of that soul. My wife for 3 minutes. People always talk about soulmates and how you might see them somewhere and how they sprint in and out of your life and you blink and you miss the big chance, like running down a long hallway that's just a hair too long and getting to watch an elevator door slide closed in your face, and you pause and listen to the belts pull it up through the floors, and depending on what kind of person you are, you either shout or mumble or whisper that word, fuck. I was in a 7-Eleven, and this girl with just the right amount of meat on her came hopping in from the downpour outside. Shoulders bunched up, head ducked, palms kind of flat to the ground. The contortions every girl goes through in the rain. She was in a green sweatshirt with a sharp white button collar jutting through, and a pair of flare-bottom jeans. And her hair was tied back in a ponytail, but covering the ears like a young European peasant. I could just picture her in the 1600s in traditional garb, standing out in some farmer's field, muddied up to the knees, carrying a basket of tomatoes or something. I couldn't tell if she was Spanish or half black or some kind of Italian, but she was beautiful. I could see the paint-splattered t-shirts of the contractors building our dream house. I could see us chasing each other through its darkened rooms, playing hide-and-seek, the slippery, naked version. I could see our children. She got a copy of the Wall Street Journal and one of those health drinks, and didn't say anything to me, or even look at me. I certainly looked, but didn't say anything to her either. I just got a 20-ounce bottle of Jolt and a big ugly pack of cigarettes, and I just felt like an asshole. Fuck. Bloody Mary. My mother is a cocktail waitress, and she works with this girl, 18, blonde hair, blue eyes, the wife she dreams of me marrying one day, a member of the master race. And this girl has taken a look or two at the photographs taken of me that my mother carries around with her in her purse. And so I asked her if she was trying to set me up with her, and she said, I think she's a little too fast for you. She wears black nail polish and smokes. Suddenly, arrogant machismo A-bombed through my more important organs. I've been known to gobble up 3 packs and 2 cigars in one sitting, and I've done every single drug, and I'm a strong believer in the religion of excess, and I've made and nailed and bawled and railed in every position conceivable, ranging from artistic to animalistic to almost embarrassing. And Mom, I'd pay for the opportunity to tear your little Neo-HJ friend in two, knead her scent into my sheets, smell her all over my hands the next day. That smell, on a long and deep enough inhale of the middle finger, it can be like an amphetamine, though only for a second. It's 1 part greased and linted Q-tip freshly pulled from the navel, and another part proud and assertively dedicated, but still rank armpit, and thirdly, 1 more part Taco Bell. And sometimes it's a smell like that of the air that hovers around the docks of Belmar, New Jersey, but a taste of canned pineapple all the way. Now how fast is she? Just try and catch me.
Mama A's 24-hour rock star hard-on.
I've never had a wet dream because I figured out jerking off long before nocturnal emission was any kind of possibility. In the shower, after a shower, on the pot, before bed, and first thing in the morning even before peeing. I've tried it underwater, and 2 times while driving. I used it as a panacea, a hobby, talent, skill, and trademark. My forearms became strong with it, pushing their veins up through and out to the surface, revealing all that faint diluted blue just beneath the skin. When I began getting it regularly, masturbation stopped altogether. I noticed that, while alone, I just didn't get hard-ons anymore. I couldn't even construct an erection. Squeezing my eyelids shut and thinking my damnedest, flashing the rudest and most illegal of pornography through my skull proved its pointlessness. And when the breakup came, I assumed that in no time at all there would be a resurgence. I figured a resurrection like the Great Flood would ensue. A deluge, almost biblical in style and magnitude, but still nothing, months, nothing. I think she stole my penis. I'm sitting here trying to do something, anything with this ill and defective imposter she tried to sneak past me. A fake, a decoy, and the only thing I notice at all is a mild yet gnawing sensation in my left testicle. Perhaps they're not the originals either, simply distractions, nudicles. There's one thing, however, that she didn't account for. The fact that a man knows his pecker. He can tell his jerking iron from another. You just can't fuck with a man's ding-dong. He knows every little feature and mood and all its normal reactions. Poor little fella. I wonder, in longing horror, about what she could be doing with him. What is he enduring this very minute? But, obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. And besides, her cunt has proven to be a fine, fine hood ornament. After all, my car still has balls, and it proves that every day, chasing after the sun, and every night, chasing after the moon, and slicing the air and wind, bearded clam first with each right, left, and straight away.
drowse.
She said something to me in one of my dreams, and I pictured the whole deal as she said it. She said, I was tripping with Arnold, and I was sitting on him the way I sit on you, and he said, I know how to make it last longer. Rub my face in that erotic little way you do. And she did, with one of those sultry slight smiles of hers, and I saw the goosebumps blister up on his face and neck, and somehow beneath his sideburns. Arnold is some guy that lives on her street who's friends with Javier, who lives next door to her. I don't know how or why she knows them. They're 22, and I'm like most people. I don't talk to my neighbors. Needless to say, that dream had me disturbed all morning, all day, and all week. I began to believe that it was real, that it had happened before she met me, when she was, say, 14. I don't know, perhaps it was a real event. Perhaps I have the power to predict the past. A note of interest. I've always had this strange feeling like I remember her from somewhere. Every so often, I see her make a certain glance with her hair tied back, and I know that I have seen that look before. Also, in my mind, my earliest memory of her comes from the split second that I first saw her. I was walking by, and she glanced up at me, amidst all her busyness, met my eyes, and returned them. When I think in detail, I remember perfectly that she had blue eyes. She has brown eyes, but in that first instance, I saw them as blue. She and I were walking on a path in a park, and I reached around her from behind, around the waist, and she looked sideways with an expression like the little girl, with her permanent grin on, and she touched right into the cherry of the cigarette in my mouth. She jerked back quickly and shouted and kind of yelled at me with gray ashes on her temple. I remember things all the time, but not from where. Smells. Smells I'll catch somewhere have me remembering some speeding image from wherever. I don't know, but smells can get me twanged out proper. Sights. Things I have indeed seen, say only a short time ago, but I keep them like nostalgia. Simple pretty things, on her stomach on my bed, eyes in the eyes, giving me the sultry look. Nostalgia. Dropping her off in the daytime, she goes to get her mail, I handle the cul-de-sac, grinding away. Honk the horn, look back, see her look up, pull her hair out of her eyes while smiling, all quickly, unaware of me being turned around, staring out the wrong windshield. A pretty little girl standing by her mailbox in the sun, shrinking from my driving down the street. Nostalgia. Nostalgia becomes unendurable. I work for the hospitals and see all sorts of human wonder. I was delivering to labor and deliveries, which I thought was a branch of my own department, transportation. Once inside the doors, I heard 3 different doctors say something about bleeding to 3 different wheelchaired women, 3 different times. The signs on the walls all had something to do with gynecology, and I realized I was wrong. I was where babies come from. As I approached the desk that I was intended to deliver to, I walked past a door where I saw a curtain extended and heard 3 voices. One said, "Here come the shoulders." I set the big box down by the desk, and some evil thing asked me about its contents, before hastily signing my clipboard. I told her it was a box, and that was that. She signed and sped off. On my way back to the service elevator, I walked past that same room a little slower. It was quiet. Then I heard the doctor say, "It's a boy," and the 3 voices were cheering. A rather lickety-split procedure. I listened a second more, then heard the baby start to cry, and that was all the confirmation I needed. My work was done there. So only after a few weeks, I had already witnessed, or at least overheard, a birth. At another hospital, the interesting one, in the stairwells, grating seals up the space between the handrails. I suppose if it wasn't there, the suicide cases on the 3rd floor would be tempted to take the path between them, down to the ground floor. One time, while cruising one of the dead hallways there, a security guard came running around the corner, yelling, "Excuse me, coming through," feet plodding quickly, badge sailing above his shoulder. He hurdled a sofa in the lobby and bounded up the stairs to the 3rd floor. There's the eating disorders unit, always teeming with beautiful yet horribly gaunt young girls, staring at me when I bring them their art supplies. You see it on TV, the anorexics are always beautiful. She's beautiful. When I'm in there, the feeling's almost nostalgic. Nostalgia becomes unendurable. On the last run of one of my weekday shifts, I was in a hospital about an hour away. I was done dropping off and picking up whatever it was I had to, and I was on the floor where the vending machines are. A real rinky-dink setup, out in the middle of nowhere, where the surgeons have tattoos and spiders fester in central sterile supply, and a flea-itching alley cat sleeps under the trucks in the loading dock, and the patients wheeling out of elevators peek at you with one eye. I looked into one ward and saw a patient in her room with the door open. The lights are off, and the room was only lit by the small light above the bed and the black and green medical monitors. I didn't see the whole patient, just what I suppose was the chest down under a sheet. The white sheet was moving with inhalation. So I stared a few moments without being seen. It was interesting to me. It was life being cradled. So that's my job. A lot of driving that I can't handle. See, I'm a dozer. Did you hear about the woman who claims to have stayed up without sleep for 6 months, then fell asleep on a talk show while promoting her book? I have a similar story. You wouldn't believe the percentage of my life that I've lived awake. I'm not saying it doesn't affect me. It affects me like holy hell. I don't know what my problem is. I veer and swerve and weave and stop short, and I'm a genuine failure at maintaining a lane. My side views skim the knuckle hair of old ladies out run walking, and I come to distances from where I can last remember being awake. To overcome all this, I've tried rainbows of caffeine pills, over-the-counter uppers, ginseng, and all forms of the Venti Mocha Valencia Espresso. But I was quick to become immune, and don't even try to suggest 20-minute refresher naps, because I've attempted them too, and all they've done is turn into 3-day comas. After about 4 or 5 days of this partial alertness, the gray and wispy hallucinations jump in at the corners of my eyes, which doesn't affect well while driving. One time, I was using the company's '94 Ford Explorer on that stain of a highway known as Route 15. Route 15 with its blazing green ditch of a median, reaching basically to nothing but the Sparta Business District. Air conditioning on high and the stereo on high, blasting away some Led Zeppelin tune. I kept going under for lengthening amounts of time, and every 100 feet or so there were these metal stakes planted in the ground. The fear of veering off into one of these and tearing up the undercarriage was enough to refresh me here and there. Then I awoke to huge green walls on either side of me, and the violent jolting the Explorer took over the varied nooks and crannies. I cut the wheel and blew up to the shoulder where I stopped the car and hurriedly went through an inspection. In shock, I believe, I scanned over the dash, the climate control, sound system, fuel gauge, and trip log. Suddenly, I pictured myself at the helm of one of those highly decorated buses careening around the Himalayas, eyes popping open upon descent, knuckles stretching to white, lips pulling wide, and teeth clenching beyond the cracking point of enamel. And I began laughing and growing in decibels. And as a climax, I lurched out the window all the way to the waist and punched the air and shook my fist at all the Route 15 travelers screaming by. And I was singing praises like, "Ford, baby, Ford! Woohoo!" For no doubt, it was Ford's suspension and handling that saved my life that day. I drove home nodding off again, swaying past the double yellow, as close as can be to the opposing side view mirrors. And waking every few moments or so to frightened horn honking and the sound of a new rattle in the transmission. I had a dream last night. Well, 2 in 1. In the first, we were somewhere strange. It was a big dead cornfield in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, but it wasn't cold. And there wasn't any snow or ice, and we were in summer clothing. She said something about going over to this desk we could see and signing up for a membership. There were 12-foot-high sunflower stalks about every 12 feet or so, and the stars were like flashlights through a blue to dark blue background. And I saw her talking to the guy behind the desk and behind some sort of register that looked more like an adding machine. That slight pang of jealousy went through me in my dreaming, sleeping body. Between the stalks were big cages, and between them were dirt roads. On one, I saw an old car parked. I turned down that one. I was walking a dog that was my dog, but it wasn't the same breed as my dog. But it was also a car, but it wasn't my car, it was borrowed. Well, I decided to park the dog on that street before returning to her in the adding machine. I wanted to park the dog somewhere away from the old car, but not in front of any of the cages, which were also homes, much as my dog was a borrowed car. I decided the whole venture was hopeless and walked the car dog back to the adding machine. The guy behind the desk looked up and seemed startled, but not as startled as her. I looked at the member name printing out on the adding machine, and it was Cesar Cervantes. And in that instant, I became more jealous than I had ever been and switched to the next dream. In this one, she was wearing a blue and yellow soccer jersey and blue shorts and the whole cute little cleat get-up. And she was standing on a field. I must have been laying on my back because she seemed like she was very tall and the sun was behind her, making her head and upper body a silhouette. She was talking about losing her virginity, and she called the guy in question Cain. And she said she did him on the soccer field during an all-day tournament. Well, that was also the 60% beer day, she said. She moved and her head blocked out the glare of the sun, and I could then see her eyes, and they were blue. It's a ridiculous notion, 12-year-old traveling soccer players turning 60% of their bodily fluids into beer and having sex on the field, but still it was enough to wake me up and twang me out parappa. I might be a raving insomniac, but when I do get sleep, man. So she was standing there in front of me with the ash streak on her temple, not burned or feeling pain, but still giving me a look. And I wanted to stick my index fingers in behind my eyes and pop them out, nerves hanging, and then feel around my chest blindly until I found a good place to finger out my heart and throw it in the woods to make amends as a real man, as real as I am, would. But the closest I got to getting my own was a cigarette gag, the kind that sort of tastes like seafood, makes your stomach implode and clench and your eyes water like
the morning.
Stella forever. Stella forever. Stella forever. Stella forever. Stella forever. She went down on 9 guys. 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 Black house going down, going down, down, down. Black house, black house, black house going down. She went down on 9 guys. 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 Ashes and foliage coming up, coming up, up. Foliage and ashes coming up, coming up, up. Stella forever. Stella forever. Stella forever.
Your mother used to show you which one was your right shoe. Your mother used to show you which one was your left shoe. You thought that she had magic eyes, but no, it is you. You thought that she had magic eyes, but it is you. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. Kelly, you gotta understand, it's 5:47 in the AM. I'm making this up as I go along. I've been doing a little bit of drinking. My parents are on vacation. This is the only chance I've got to record this freaking thing for you, so you better cut me some slack and you better like it. 1, 2, 3. Your mother used to show you which one was your right shoe. Your mother used to show you which one was your left shoe. You thought that she had magic eyes, but no, it is you. You thought that she had magic eyes, but baby, I'm telling you, it is you. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. When you were a child, you thought that there were people in the TV. Kelly, I haven't seen you in a long time. What's going on? I heard you lost your job. That sucks, but it happens to all of us. Don't worry, you got another one. But hey, who am I gonna hang out with on the weekends now when I'm ditching work? Ah, God. 2, 3, 4, 5. Kelly Caruso, baby, ha cha 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 cha. 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 I heard you don't like the cookie industry no more. Well, that's what happens when you are a ha cha cha cha. Kelly Caruso, ha cha 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 cha. Kelly Caruso, ha cha 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 cha. Kelly Caruso, ha cha 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 cha. Kelly Caruso, ha cha 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 cha. Woohoo! It's done, motherfucker. When I was just a little lad, in breeches yay high, the neighbor girl, she sucked me out and I came in her eye. Oh, whiskey, whiskey's for me. Oh, whiskey, whiskey for free. When I was just about 13, I smoked my first cigar. I didn't know you don't inhale, and I got pretty pale. Oh, whiskey, whiskey's for me. Oh, whiskey, whiskey's for free. Now, when I was just about 14, I drank my first rum. I split it with this little lass, and she chased it with cum. Oh, whiskey, whiskey's for me. Oh, whiskey, whiskey for free. I like stalking girls, driving past their houses, looking into darkened windows. I never expect to see anything, and in fact, I never do see anything, but I'm always hoping for that one rare occasion where I might catch them outside, raking leaves, or playing with children, or yes, maybe even planting flowers. I went up to a girl one time in the mall and I said, "Would you like a job?" And she said, "Sure. How much would this job pay?" And I said, $5.50 an hour. And she said, "Minimum wage, not bad. I'll accept minimum wage. I've accepted it before. What kind of job would I be doing?" And I said, "Planting flowers, of course." And she said, "Planting flowers, that's wonderful. I'm planning on becoming a botanist when I grow up. How do you like that?" And I said, "I like it just great." And I said, "Do you have any more questions?" And she said, "As a matter of fact, I do. Where would I be planting these flowers?" No, that's not the first question she asked me. She said, "What kind of flowers would I be planting?" And I said, "Tulips." And she said, "Tulips. Mwah! Beautiful. I love tulips. In fact, I want to move to Holland because of all the tulips. I think tulips are so beautiful." I said, "Any more questions?" That's when I said that. And she said, "Yeah, where would I be planting these tulips?" And I said, "On my dick." Oh, whiskey. Whiskey is for me. Oh, whiskey. Whiskey for free. Straight edge, gothic, undercover cops, boom, boom, boom. Straight edge, gothic, undercover cops. Don't try to sell them drugs. They dress in black, but they don't smoke crack. And they look like they like to get real fucked up. But they got the power to lock you up. So don't try to sell them drugs. Don't try to sell them drugs. You go to jail. They look like potheads, but they're the feds. And they're not gonna buy that shit, 'cause all of them are packing heat. So don't try to sell them drugs. Don't try to sell them drugs. They look like they're looking for the white stuff, but all of them carry some real tight cuffs. And they only chase the dragon to the paddy wagon. So don't try to sell them drugs. Don't try to sell them drugs. If their hands are shaking, they're faking, 'cause you and I know that they smell like bacon. 'Cause they're straight edge gothic undercover cops. So don't try to sell them drugs. Don't try to sell them drugs. Straight edge gothic undercover cops. Straight edge gothic undercover cops. Straight edge gothic undercover cops. Don't try to sell them drugs. Okay, listeners, this is a song for every other fucking girl I know, entitled Every Other Fucking Girl I Know, a medley. Part of this is the little final piece that it's not really my own work, it's the work of Mr. Stephen Patrick Morrissey, but I'm incorporating it into my little tape thing here, and this is going to be the final thing, so I hope you enjoy it, and fuck off. Okay, here we go. Oh, my guitar's out of tune. Hold on a second. Okay. Christine, first time I met you, and you said your last name was Magnani or whatever. I thought you said mañana, as in tomorrow. So I thought you were Spanish. Especially when you started talking about how the best part about sleeping with a Spanish girl is when they cry out "ay papi" right in the middle. Other than that, I don't have much else to say. Other than that, you have a boyfriend named Greg who thinks I'm the bomb. But I have something to say to Greg. Greg, man, no, you the bomb. Jamie Bailey. Stephanie, you like Liz Fair, so I'm trying to play guitar like her. You got this jacket that makes you look like a paratrooper, and ever since you cut your hair, you look like some sprightly wood nymph. And I never told anyone about our one night stand. Paulie cries 'cause no girl is good enough for me. Danes is my friend, my artist friend, my waitress, artist friend. Heather Hutchinson is friends with Annie Green. Liz works at Hot Topic and she rolls pretzels too. Who else? Starks 3268 is going out with Ken, and she has a bunch of strange little friends whose names I can't remember. And then of course there's my friend, my favorite worm of all, GEMELLI 14. Is there anybody else? I can't remember. Let me think now, I'm doing this impromptu. Who did I forget to put in this song? I think that's it. If you're a girl and you're listening to this and you haven't heard your name, I have one thing to say, and it goes sort of like this. Fuck you. There is a place in hell reserved for me and my friends. And when you go, we all will go. So you see, I'm never alone. There is a place with a bit more time and a few more gentle words. And when we go, all that we ask are skin in your blood in our bones. Don't get in your way the way they did when we lived. What's the rest? And looking back, we do forgive the way we always did. Something like, hold on, where's the rest? Okay. There is a place in hell reserved for me and my friends. Let's just say that's the rest of the lyrics that my buddy Steve Morrissey wrote. Okay, that's the end of the album. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you all. I love you all so much. I'm in my room by myself. It's really hot in here. I don't have any windows open. Well, hope you, yeah. Son of a bitch. God damn it! Drowse. She said something to me in one of my dreams, and I pictured the whole deal as she said it. She said, I was tripping with Arnold, and I was sitting on him the way I sit on you, and he said, I know how to make it last longer. Rub my face in that erotic little way you do. And she did, with one of those sultry slight smiles of hers, and I saw the goosebumps blister up on his face and neck, and somehow beneath his sideburns. Arnold is some guy that lives on her street who's friends with Javier, who lives next door to her. I don't know how or why she knows them. They're 22, and I'm like most people. I don't talk to my neighbors. Needless to say, that dream had me disturbed all morning, all day, and all week. I began to believe that it was real, that it had happened before she met me, when she was, say, 14. I don't know, perhaps it was a real event. Perhaps I have the power to predict the past. A note of interest. I've always had this strange feeling like I remember her from somewhere. Every so often, I see her make a certain glance with her hair tied back, and I know that I have seen that look before. Also, in my mind, my earliest memory of her comes from the split second that I first saw her. I was walking by and she glanced up at me amidst all her busyness, met my eyes and returned them. When I think in detail, I remember perfectly that she had blue eyes. She has brown eyes, but in that first instance I saw them as blue. She and I were walking on a path in a park, and I reached around her from behind, around the waist, and she looked sideways with an expression like the little girl with her permanent grin on, and she touched right into the cherry of the cigarette in my mouth. She jerked back quickly and shouted and kinda yelled at me with gray ashes on her temple. I remember things all the time, but not from where. Smells. Smells I'll catch somewhere have me remembering some speeding image from wherever. I don't know, but smells can get me twanged out proper. Sights. Things I have indeed seen, say only a short time ago, but I keep them like nostalgia. Simple pretty things, on her stomach on my bed, eyes in the eyes, giving me the sultry look. Nostalgia. Dropping her off in the daytime, she goes to get her mail, I handle a cul-de-sac, grinding away, honk the horn, look back, see her look up, pull her hair out of her eyes while smiling, all quickly, unaware of me being turned around, staring out the wrong windshield. A pretty little girl standing by her mailbox in the sun, shrinking from my driving down the street. Nostalgia. Nostalgia becomes unendurable. I work for the hospitals and see all sorts of human wonder. I was delivering to labor and deliveries, which I thought was a branch of my own department, transportation. Once inside the doors, I heard 3 different doctors say something about bleeding to 3 different wheelchaired women 3 different times. The signs on the walls all had something to do with gynecology, and I realized I was wrong. I was where babies come from. As I approached the desk that I was intended to deliver to, I walked past a door where I saw a curtain extended and heard 3 voices. One said, "Here come the shoulders." I set the big box down by the desk, and some evil thing asked me about its contents, before hastily signing my clipboard. I told her it was a box, and that was that. She signed and sped off. On my way back to the service elevator, I walked past that same room a little slower. It was quiet. Then I heard the doctor say, "It's a boy," and the 3 voices were cheering. A rather lickety-split procedure. I listened a second more, then heard the baby start to cry, and that was all the confirmation I needed. My work was done there. So only after a few weeks, I had already witnessed, or at least overheard, a birth. At another hospital, the interesting one, in the stairwells, grating seals up the space between the handrails. I suppose if it wasn't there, the suicide cases on the 3rd floor would be tempted to take the path between them, down to the ground floor. One time, while cruising one of the dead hallways there, a security guard came running around the corner, yelling, "Excuse me, coming through." Feet plodding quickly, badge sailing above his shoulder. He hurdled a sofa in the lobby and bounded up the stairs to the 3rd floor. There's the eating disorders unit, always teeming with beautiful yet horribly gaunt young girls staring at me when I bring them their art supplies. You see it on TV, the anorexics are always beautiful. She's beautiful. When I'm in there, the feeling's almost nostalgic. Nostalgia becomes unendurable. On the last run of one of my weekday shifts, I was in a hospital about an hour away. I was done dropping off and picking up whatever it was I had to, and I was on the floor where the vending machines are. A real rinky-dink setup, out in the middle of nowhere, where the surgeons have tattoos and spiders fester in the central sterile supply, and a flea-itching alley cat sleeps under the trucks in the loading dock, and the patients wheeling out of elevators peek at you with one eye. I looked into one ward and saw a patient in her room with the door opened. The lights were off, and the room was only lit by the small light above the bed and the black and green medical monitors. I didn't see the whole patient, just what I suppose was the chest down under a sheet. The white sheet was moving with inhalation. So I stared a few moments without being seen. It was interesting to me. It was life being cradled. So that's my job. A lot of driving, driving that I can't handle. See, I'm a dozer. Did you hear about the woman who claims to have stayed up without sleep for 6 months, then fell asleep on a talk show while promoting her book? I have a similar story. You wouldn't believe the percentage of my life that I've lived awake. I'm not saying it doesn't affect me. It affects me like holy hell. I don't know what my problem is. I veer and swerve and weave and stop short, and I'm a genuine failure at maintaining a lane. My side views skim the knuckle hair of old ladies out run walking, and I come to distances from where I can last remember being awake. To overcome all this, I've tried rainbows of caffeine pills, over-the-counter uppers, ginseng, and all forms of the Venti Mocha Valencia Espresso, but I was quick to become immune, and don't even try to suggest 20-minute refresher naps, because I've attempted them too, and all they've done is turn into 3-day comas. After about 4 or 5 days of this partial alertness, the gray and wispy hallucinations jump in at the corners of my eyes, which doesn't affect well while driving. One time, I was using the company's '94 Ford Explorer on that stain of a highway known as Route 15. Route 15 with its blazing green ditch of a median, reaching basically to nothing but the Sparta Business District. Air conditioning on high and the stereo on high, blasting away some Led Zeppelin tune. I kept going under for lengthening amounts of time, and every 100 feet or so there were these metal stakes planted in the ground. The fear of veering off into one of these and tearing up the undercarriage was enough to refresh me here and there. Then I awoke to huge green walls on either side of me, and the violent jolting the Explorer took over the varied nooks and crannies. I cut the wheel and blew up to the shoulder where I stopped the car and hurriedly went through an inspection. In shock, I believe, I scanned over the dash, the climate control, sound system, fuel gauge, and trip log. Suddenly, I pictured myself at the helm of one of those highly decorated buses careening around the Himalayas, eyes popping open upon descent, knuckles stretching to white, lips pulling wide, and teeth clenching beyond the cracking point of enamel. And I began laughing and growing in decibels. And as a climax, I lurched out the window all the way to the waist and punched the air and shook my fist at all the Route 15 travelers screaming by. And I was singing praises like, "Ford, baby, Ford! Woohoo!" For no doubt it was Ford's suspension and handling that saved my life that day. I drove home nodding off again, swaying past the double yellow, as close as can be to the opposing side view mirrors. Waking every few moments or so to frightened horn honking and the sound of a new rattle in the transmission. I had a dream last night. Well, 2 in 1. In the first, we were somewhere strange. It was a big dead cornfield in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, but it wasn't cold. And there wasn't any snow or ice, and we were in summer clothing. She said something about going over to this desk we could see and signing up for a membership. There were 12-foot-high sunflower stalks about every 12 feet or so, and the stars were like flashlights through a blue to dark blue background. And I saw her talking to the guy behind the desk and behind some sort of register that looked more like an adding machine. That slight pang of jealousy went through me in my dreaming, sleeping body. Between the stalks were big cages, and between them were dirt roads. On one, I saw an old car parked. I turned down that one. I was walking a dog that was my dog, but it wasn't the same breed as my dog. But it was also a car, but it wasn't my car, it was borrowed. Well, I decided to park the dog on that street before returning to her in the adding machine. I wanted to park the dog somewhere away from the old car, but not in front of any of the cages, which were also homes, much as my dog was a borrowed car. I decided the whole venture was hopeless and walked the car dog back to the adding machine. The guy behind the desk looked up and seemed startled, but not as startled as her. I looked at the member name printing out on the adding machine, and it was Cesar Cervantes. And in that instant, I became more jealous than I had ever been and switched to the next dream. In this one, she was wearing a blue and yellow soccer jersey and blue shorts and the whole cute little cleat get-up. And she was standing on a field. I must have been laying on my back because she seemed like she was very tall and the sun was behind her, making her head and upper body a silhouette. She was talking about losing her virginity, and she called the guy in question Cain. And she said she did him on the soccer field during an all-day tournament. Well, that was also the 60% beer day, she said. She moved and her head blocked out the glare of the sun, and I could then see her eyes, and they were blue. It's a ridiculous notion, 12-year-old traveling soccer players turning 60% of their bodily fluids into beer and having sex on the field, but still it was enough to wake me up and twang me out proper. I might be a raving insomniac, but when I do get sleep, man. So she was standing there in front of me with the ash streak on her temple, not burned or feeling pain, but still giving me a look. And I wanted to stick my index fingers in behind my eyes and pop them out, nerves hanging, and then feel around my chest blindly until I found a good place to finger out my heart and throw it in the woods to make amends as a real man, as real as I am, would. But the closest I got to getting my own was a cigarette gag, the kind that sort of tastes like seafood, makes your stomach implode and clench and your eyes water like the morning.